Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Press R. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, the concept of nationhood is closely tied to national identity and political structures of the nation state. It is a large, socially constructed group of people sharing common cultural elements such as origin, history, language, and territory, united under a sovereign government. There are prerequisites for national integration, and this works only when and where there is mutual respect. Otherwise, it gives birth to distrust, tribalism, hate language, and tension. Cameroon is celebrating the 54th edition of National Unity Day within a context full of questions about the path through defining moments of living together. One of the questions is, where is the meeting point between the National Unity Day and national integration? You may want to ask the question the other way around. Where do national unity and national integration clash? And that will be our focus today on the program. I am Kilian Ndandifon in Yaoundé, and this is Press R. You are welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Press R, and we are broadcasting live from Studio 4 of the CRTV Production Center here at Balatu in Yaoundé. Our topic is the National Day. Where does the National Day meet in national integration? And to talk about this topic, which is not only a subject of the moment, it is exactly one topic that moves the country around. Professor Mfi Joseph Lon is a historian and lecturer at the University of Bamenda. You're welcome to Press R, Prof.
Thank you very much, Kilian. Thank you for having me on board. I think this is my first time on this panel.
We are really pleased to have you.
Thank you.
Who called and you came right away from Bamenda. We have Dr. Babila Robert Sikot, who is a historian. He is based here in Yaoundé. Doctor, you're welcome to Press R.
Thank you very much, Kilian. I do appreciate your invitation, and it's a pleasure for me to answer present here and to share my views on this whole issue of national unity and national integration, which I find very, very topical.
Thank you so much. That is why we brought you. That's why we are talking about it here today. A few days, just about 3 days, to the 20th May celebration, which is the National Day in Cameroon. Ernest Akufo is a civil society actor. Ernest, you're welcome to Press R.
Thank you very much, Kilian, and I want to say good afternoon to the viewers out there, and extend a word of compassion to the families of patriotic Cameroonians who've just kicked the bucket these past days.
There are a good number of them.
Just too many. I can't go naming
so
them. Yes, I just say a lot of compassion for them. And I just hope that with this topical issue, I wish they were equally there to share in our viewpoints.
They have shared all along the history of this country. Thank you so much for coming, Ernest Akufo. Joe Tiemoncho is a super skilled journalist in CRTV. He is a colleague. He is far from being a colleague, a very close colleague to me. Joe, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Kilian. Thank you, televiewers, for joining us on this set. Kilian, it is always a pleasure when I get to work with you, and you know we have a long-standing history and collaboration in terms of our professional life. I'm grateful, and I will continue to say, let the heavens increase if we must decrease on earth, while remembering those that the Lord has called home, especially the founding fathers of national unity and the makers and shakers of Cameroon life in Cameroon, who have just gone home in recent days. I think that I will remember Colonel Kakaba Maboum especially,
yes,
and the general.
The latest is Colonel Kaka Maboum. We're not going to list the list. Indeed, is so long. Indeed. We're not going to leave some of them out. You are also a traditional ruler. When we call you Joe Tiemoncho, others don't know that that's not your full name.
Yes, Kilian, I would just wish to add Chusheka for now, because my identity had to be mixed up with that of senior colleague Joe Chebonkeng in the Ministry of Secondary Education. Somebody was insisting that I'm Joe Chebonkeng. I said, no, I would not love to borrow rope and wear. He is my senior colleague, elder brother and friend, but I'm not the one. And he was insisting. Then when I came back to the newsroom, I now completed the name.
Let's leave that story. let us get your traditional title.
For Tamanjomo Tanting Tani for Pandang Grishimo for you for Shishara.
Killian, that's a whole paragraph.
So it is dating from the 11th century to where we
Thank you so much.
Lining up the successions.
It's a kind of, it sounds like it's humor, but that is his traditional title. I like to hear that. And at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, we invite Angela Mbong, who has been reading the newspapers in our slot press review for Press Hour.
This week's press review focuses on events driving national discourse across multiple sectors, with Cameroon Insider highlighting talks in Yaoundé between President Paul Biya and the Deputy Commander of United States Africa Command, General John William Brennan, held on May 7, aimed at strengthening cooperation against Boko Haram in the Far North region and improving maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea. Attention then shifts to a wave of national mourning across multiple outlets. Cameroon Insider reports the death of Major General Philippe Mpai, commander of the Joint Schools and Training Centers Command. The newspaper informs its readers that he passed away at the 1st Region Military Hospital in Yaoundé after an illness at the age of 87, concluding a long military career. In the same tone, Cameroon Tribune carries coverage of the funeral ceremonies of former Senate President Marcel Nyat Jifenji, marked by official state participation in Yaoundé before burial in Bagante in the West region. The paper also situates the moment within a broader climate of national reflection as tributes continue to pour in for late public figures across political and institutional life. The mourning period extends into sports and media circles. The Guardian Post highlights tributes to Hamad Kaukaba Malboum, head of the Cameroon National Olympic and Sports Committee and African athletics leadership, with reactions extending across Africa and beyond. The passing of veteran journalist Jomo Kevin is also covered by the Dawn newspaper, prompting reactions from media professionals and colleagues. In other developments, Cameroon Tribune highlights the inauguration of the newly constructed FECAFOOT headquarters in Yaoundé, an event attended by senior officials and CAF President Patrice Motsepe. The Guardian Post frames the inauguration as part of broader efforts to modernize football administration infrastructure. Meanwhile, the Horizon outlines activities linked to National Unity Day, with the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism assessing the use of official languages in education and judicial services across regions. Municipal updates similarly note progress in bilingualism within the judiciary and security sectors. In education, The Sun reports the launch of the 2026 Sports and Physical Education Practical Examinations by Minister Nalova Lyonga, alongside the commissioning of a digital classroom in Limbe, Southwest region. The Dawn newspaper carries the same story, with emphasis on the expanding rollout of smart and intelligent classrooms in secondary schools. Economic coverage points to rising agricultural gains. The median reports that cocoa prices have risen above 1,500 francs CFA as the season winds down, while The Sun highlights China's introduction of zero tariffs on Cameroonian cocoa exports. Municipal updates add that Arabica coffee exports are also increasing in both volume and value. And that's the week through the eyes of the press. See you next week for what the papers would have said.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us on Press Hour today. Our topic again, we're looking at the National Day. Where is the National Day meeting integration? We have always been talking about National Day. We have two very important days that we talk about in Cameroon: reunification and unification. And then National Day per se, they may sound to some people the same thing, but they are actually different things altogether. And the historians who are here, I want them to refresh in our minds on these concepts. Professor Mfi Joseph Lon, National Unity Day. What is the difference between that and National Day and reunification?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kilian. We have a history that's quite rich, and it's not a surprise that many people get confused between reunification and the unitary state. On the 1st of October 1961, the two Cameroons, one administered formally by the French, the other administered formally by the British, came together, and that was called reunification. Why reunification? Because before the First World War and the partition of Cameroon, these two territories were part of what the Germans had annexed and consolidated as an entity. They were part of the German Cameroon. Of course, after that reunification, President Ahidjo moved a step further in 1972 and changed the form of the state by creating a unitary state, meaning that the federal structures adopted at Fumban were all abolished, and Cameroon became a unitary state. It will be important to let us understand that a country cannot only be united because it is in a unitary form, or the state, the structures are unitary. There are federations that are more the people feel more united than even countries or states that are having unitary structures.
Now, tell us the 54th edition of the National Day that we are celebrating is the unitary state of 1972.
Exactly. We're celebrating the referendum which Ahidjo organized on the 20th of May 1972. It may be interesting to know that the journey started far back, quite back, and that steps were taken by Ahidjo. In fact, still back in Fumban, those who were vigilant would have understood that the federal structures were temporal, were just an experiment. Ahidjo had already planted seeds towards, the centralization of institutions in Cameroon. And that is why he surprised the National Assembly on the 6th of May, informed them, addressed them and informed them he was going to abolish, the unitary state, the federal state, and put to place the unitary state.
Now,
and on the 8th of May, he signed a decree calling for a referendum on the 20th of May.
Now, that is not all. When we talk about National Day, the other day I was talking with a historian on behalf of CRTV, of course, who said when we talk about National Day, it dates even far before 1960, 1961.
Yeah.
1960, because the French Cameroon became independent 1st of January, and then you had also the plebiscite in 1961.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. National days have evolved. National days have evolved. In what was French Cameroons, as early as 1958, the territory gained autonomy already. And the Prime Minister was André Marie Mbida. They all started already celebrating. They had symbols of a nation, a flag, a motto, an emblem, and whatever. In the Southern Cameroons, 1950 also, they gained autonomy within the Federation of Nigeria. And of course, they had what they call Empire Day. All of that evolved towards what we have today called the National Day.
And thank you. You have said evolved to 1972, and we are celebrating unitary state in 1972.
Exactly.
That is what we are talking about here and now. Dr. Robert Sikot, do you have something to add as a historian to what Professor Mfi Joseph has said before we move around the table?
Yes, thank you, Kilian. Yeah, I wish to reiterate the fact that the birth of a unity state on the 20th of May 1972, following the referendum, actually went with some irregularities, as I will put it, because even the question that was put to the electorate actually took a hammer on the advantages of a unity state, the creation of a unity state, and did not actually bring out give ample time to Cameroonians to look at the pros and cons of a unity state, so they could reflect on it and see which system of government was better, whether it was the federation or the unity state, which was highly trumpeted by the Aidoo-led government. In fact, he did not even talk about the disadvantages of the federation. He did not give the advantages of the federation. Neither did he talk about he talked about the disadvantages, but he did not give the advantages. So people did not. People were taken like aback. People were not given ample time to reflect on that, and so they just found themselves getting into a situation which they had not had ample time to prepare for.
Yes,
and that's where we are today. But I'm not saying that the idea of Cameroonians, coming together as one, that spirit of oneness, that spirit of togetherness was not good. It was good because the federation too. I'm not saying that the federation was the best system of government, but because it had its own lapses too. The federation, it was expensive to run. Imagine four assemblies, two governments, two state government, duplication of service, and of course we talk about the desire. We talk about salary disparities between West Cameroon and East Cameroon. So salaries were lower in West Cameroon.
Those were the reasons that were raised for those who
for the abolition of the federation in favor of a unity state. Yes. Even though Aidoo had in mind, like Professor Mfi rightly said, he was a centralist. He believed in the centralization of power, and so the federation as a temporary experiment, which was going to be discarded at the right time, at the appropriate time. And of course, 11 years later, from 1961 1972, he was able to discard of it.
Yes, thank you. So,
yes. So he was able to play his game well.
That's
what I want to say.
That being working towards oneness,
yes,
going towards unity,
yes,
is a lofty idea, yes, and that was the plan at that time that was realized. And we're going to, I don't know, we just move into the topic. The historians have set the pace. We move into the topic and see how this unit and integration have brought us together first. Then afterwards, we're going to see where unity, where integration does not find its place in the unity. But first, Joe, I'm going to ask you, when we came together, how has this unity favored integration? A country like Cameroon to be one.
Kilian, televiewers, let me retouch history by saying that French administration that colonized part of Cameroon did administration by assimilation. And then the British tradition was indirect role in that the people that were part of the British, which Southern Cameroon was, had a different way of public administration. And then when they came together to create a unitary state, those differences in public administration, one that is assimilation and one that inherited indirect rule, had clashes. And that is why even in 20th May 1972, some people still raise dissenting voices. Now, when you look at unity, one would say that it is accomplished. Then integration, there are cracks, because when you talk of integration, it means that you belong to that unified entity, you also have a sense of...
We have divided.
Yes.
We have decided to look to structure our program today as follows. We look at the advantages of coming together and how it has helped us to integrate together, and after that, we'll look at the cracks.
Okay. Now unity is strength, Kilian.
Yes.
We acknowledge and acclaim that. And then integrity now set in when you have the sense of belonging. Because we cannot isolate integrity within a nation or integration within a nation without the sense of belonging. And you know that many or some Cameroonians have the temptation not to build that sense of belonging because of a number of problems that arise. Unemployment, unemployment being one of them.
In the later part of the program.
Yes, unemployment being one of them. And the fact that in the yesteryear, some people never identified themselves with the English language as one of the official languages of this country, and it irritated a number of English language speakers who will get to an office and speak English, and the response will be negative. So these are the issues. When you look at unity, yes, we have moved forward. Now for integration, we still need to re-examine a number of items for us to progress.
But I want to see what we have done already. When you go into
for integration,
when you go into a ministry in Cameroon, you may have exceptions. You see that in one ministry, just like in one enterprise, one company, you have people from all parts of this country working in that same ministry, some in the minister's cabinet, some from different parts of the country. So those are some of the aspects. I've just give this to show how I wanted us to come out with so many of these things that have made us to be one, and you see there's integration. You have people from the southwest, from the northwest, who are settled in Yaoundé, who are settled in
all
the
over
east,
the national
who are settled
territory
in the far north. Those are aspects of integration.
Right.
So I wanted us to bring out some of these. There are so many. Then after that, we'll move to the cracks. Now, can you
yes,
help?
even in education, we have integration.
Yeah, go
because from 7 years of the primary education that we grew up with, there is harmonization that the Francophone system of subsystem of education also gave inspiration to the Anglophone subsystem of education, and we moved from 7 years to 6 years for primary education. That is also an aspect of integration in education which we need not ignore. And again, when you look at the public service, there is the sense of merit in that you write examination and you have that possibility of being employed according to your aptitude. Let us shave aside corruption that has come to destroy many aspects of public life in Cameroon. And so if we were to get the fact that if you work hard, you will get what you want in the united society in which we find ourselves, it will be a plus. But then corruption again is marring that.
Ernest, you like to call yourself the Duke? Yes, we are looking at those positive aspects of national unity that have encouraged integration in Cameroon. He has taken education. Well, maybe you take another one.
Well, thank you, Kilian. I want to start by saying that unity is oneness. Unity is a whole, because anything that it's united, we don't see the cracks. Well, you said we shed the other part and come to it later on. I want to talk about cultural unity. You see, of recent, there is this blend, there is this melange of our culture, be it the dress item, be it the food, be it the dance, the cultural dances. There is that unity which comes in there. Apart from the culture or the tradition, where we find the blend, you see, the mere fact that we speak the two official languages, the English language and the French language. Cameroonians across the board, they make an effort to speak and understand one of or both of the two official languages. That is already unity, and it strengthens us. Apart from these two, you want to talk about the living together. Yes, it's primordial. If we were not living together, we wouldn't have been seated here. I think politicians should not use the living together palaver as if Cameroonians have not been living together. Cameroonians have been living together. They are living together.
In fact,
and will continue living together.
They have never lived apart.
They've never lived apart. Because when I ever hear this much talk about vivre ensemble, Cameroonians don't have a problem of vivre ensemble, Kilian.
What is the problem?
Cameroonians have a problem of manger ensemble,
sharing the
together,
cake.
Sharing the national cake. That is where the problem lies.
Yes, now let's go back. We're going to come to that. Let's go back to the cultural integration you were talking about. In the south, in the east, you see people wearing the togo from the northwest. They wear in the southwest. There are people of the southwest. You see the people who wear the Sawa outfit. They are not from the Sawa extraction of the country. You see some of the people from the south so many times have worn that, wearing the saro from the north. Those are aspects of integration.
Cultural integration.
And you don't see anyone who says, no, you
Don't
must
put
not
this
wear.
on.
I like there's one member of government.
But then, Kilian, if you don't mind it, I would say that it was an embarrassment to hear from a traditional ruler in Douala that Achu should be banned, whereas Achu is already a
international,
national and international dish, just like Watafufu and Ero. And so some of these overzealous persons who want to add cracks on national unity will need to be cautioned, why not advised.
Well, that should be an isolated case, and we're not bringing it to our table because probably he had a personal problem somewhere. We cannot bring that. We cannot bring that to press.
Adding to that, I want to say what equally identifies our unity is, you see, this avalanche of our cultural dishes. They're eaten everywhere. You get to the north, people there, they eat achu, they eat corn fufu and hockberry. Likewise, in the south and in the west
there are
regions.
People who question what you are saying, that what is eating corn fufu and ero have to do with unity.
Because if we were so particular, if we were so
divided. If you're hungry, you go, you get food. If it's good, you eat. Unity or not?
That already, Kilian, little things matter, right?
Okay.
Yeah, little things matter. If you think little things don't matter, then you are finished. Just the fact that I am from the northwest region, then I like folere and their fufu, it already shows that I have love for the people of the north region.
That's exactly what I'm asking. Are you eating because you taste well in your mouth and you're hungry, or you love the people? Okay, we're not going to do that.
Let me come in there. I think we have talked so much about the cultural and the social. When we talk about unity, it will be okay for us to start looking at the institutional, at the level of institutions.
Yes.
Because from 1962, we started moving rapidly towards a kind of institutional unity. You know, having services that were only in East Cameroon, functioning also in West Cameroon, that the National Gendarmerie did not exist. Like some components of the police force did not exist in East Cameroon. We had one currency, April 1962, that's unity. We had a single political party in 1966. That was an attempt to unity. I'm not saying
we
that.
We had the Sanitary Guards.
Exactly. Which was a typical Anglo-Saxon or West Cameroon institution.
Indeed.
That was introduced across the board. Then, of course, we had, you know, a federal university that came here in Yaoundé, 63, I think, which was a kind of a melting pot, a kind of, you know, a place for the training of the elite corps of Cameroon. Those are institutional unity. But I think one of the things Ernest Akufo did not raise, which he talked very much on cultural unity, was inter-ethnic marriages.
Exactly.
It's one of those areas where if we were a serious regime, would have kind of legislated on that. Because Cameroonians marry across ethnic boundaries. It's an increasingly, you know, it's increasingly becoming a kind of fashionable
It's an everyday affair.
Everyday affair. And government would have taken advantage of this, the love for cross-border, cross-ethnic marriages, to kind of legislate and make it something that can help, you know, cement us, keep us together. We also have before a certain, I think should be 1965, civil servants were not moving out of their regions.
Yeah.
Especially between the West-East divide. So we have civil servants now all over. We have bilingual colleges and primary schools all over. I think all of these were efforts towards national unity.
Consolidating
we may,
national unity.
In the second phase, see some shortcomings, but I think these are issues that brought us together.
We are still in the first phase. Dr. Robert Sikot will need those aspects, those positive unity, the values that have encouraged integration.
Yes, thank you again, Kilian. I wish to talk about the constitution of the Republic of Cameroon. That's the current constitution that we're using. You know, it has been amended. It was amended recently. That's the constitution of 18th January 1996. It actually recognizes the rights of the different groups, ethnic groups, tribes to exist in Cameroon and to live wherever you want to live in any part of Cameroon, to go to all the nooks and crannies of Cameroon and to work there freely. And of course, it also makes provision for the protection of the right of the minority, so that it is so I'm in a way saying that it is very, very inclusive. It takes into consideration all the different shades of opinion, the different tribal groups, the different ethnic groups, despite our differences, trying to make us know that our diversity should not be a barrier, that we should try to forge ahead despite our diversity. We should forge our diversity in we should promote unity. Unity in diversity. Despite our diversity. That element of unity to be provided should be promoted. I beg your pardon. And then beside that, we have pilot linguistic centers which have been created to also promote that culture of bilingualism, which is a recognition of our bicultural heritage, to show that one culture is not less important as compared to the other, especially our inherited colonial cultures, particularly English and French, because studying somebody's language is also studying the person's culture.
Of course, language is an integral part of culture.
Yes, language is an integral part of culture. Yes, and then beside that, we have universities, Anglo-Saxon universities, with doors open to Francophones. After proficiency test and all of that, they go through all of that process, and eventually they are admitted, to show our togetherness, that we are actually identifying with each other. And of course, I myself am a product of the University of Yaoundé 1. That's the mother university of Cameroon. And of course, it's a bilingual university to an extent, even though it is dominated by French.
It is bilingual.
It is bilingual. Domination.
It is bilingual. Domination is an issue to see after. Because if you look at the population of Cameroon, you will see that the Francophones dominate. So you cannot want to say that it is dominated. Have you spoken there in English and it is not heard? No. So the problem of domination, where does it come from? I am not against what you are saying. I want you to explain.
Well, just most of our lecturers, for example, in the different departments, apart from the English modulators, they are French speaking or French expression, but that was not a barrier. They made efforts too to also bring up the level of English. That way they were able to assess and us well and to read the English that we were writing, and that also spurred us up to bring up our level of French. We had what we call formation bilingue, and we made every effort to be able to follow up the lectures with the formation bilingue, with the bilingual training that we're receiving. And that is why some of us can proudly say we are bilingual Cameroonians. That is part of the unity and the integration that we can talk about. And then the admission.
I may compliment this notion of also recognizing the minority. Our constitution recognizes the minority.
Yes, that in Boronos,
and that some privileges can be given to such minority ethnic groups in Cameroon.
Okay. There are two, Prof. Mfi, Joseph talked about institutional integration. Well, we call it unity that ends up with integration, and policy frameworks. You did not talk about decentralization. This aspect of decentralization is part of integration. That's making sure everybody feels that they are in their country. I don't know whether you should be the one to develop this. I just have that idea. Then the second one, which I will also want you, some of you who are learned in history more than some of us, should talk about the quota system and state institutions. That's what we have called all along regional balance in institutional consideration, employment, and rest. Now, you see, it may not be respected, but it's a kind of policy framework that in every concours, every competitive entrance exam in our country, regional balance, which means quota system, everyone from all the parts of the country should be considered. I think it was your place to explain this to us.
Yes, thank you. I will probably...
There are two concepts. That
yes, I will talk much on decentralization, probably because I have a course titled Comparative Decentralization in Africa. And when you read the literature, existing literature on decentralization in Africa, you say there's no decentralization in Cameroon. We're joking. And decentralization
But we are told that it's a process.
That is the fun about everything is a process. Even the implementation of the Constitution is a process. But I think we should accelerate the process. If it's a process, please, let's accelerate that process.
Okay.
Because decentralization is a key factor for growth, prosperity, the welfare of the people. Because when the people find that they are governing themselves, that those in power are chosen by them, they are people they know and they are accountable. Accountability here is downward and upward. You see, the people see progress. But in Cameroon, we are too slow, we are hesitant. And I understand, because in the, should I call it, Jacobin culture, there is no, they don't believe in decentralization. That's one of the reasons why the unitary state was introduced in 1972. It's not that we were not united, that Cameroonians were not united with the federal system. But the unitarism was a kind of way of pulling all powers, preventing the peripheries, from exercising power and authority and transferring it to the center. That's exactly what happened.
And now, after that, there is decentralization. We miss that.
Well, come back to it.
We are going back to what existed before. So it should be a positive aspect of the unitary.
Yes, it's very positive. Imagine, I come from the Northwest. Imagine that we were electing our governor in the Northwest. Imagine how such a personality will be chosen, how he can feel for the people, how he can be committed to the development of the people.
Knowing that if he is not resource-oriented,
within 5 years
he will not
does
be
not perform,
re-elected.
he will be sent away.
Correct.
That's what decentralization is all about. And they are aware such a man will be
on
the
of
council.
One aspect.
Yes, one aspect. We can't talk about all of it about decentralization here.
Cameroon has its own decentralization style, which doesn't make the governors elected.
Yeah, but even our own style does not permit.
It devolves power.
Yes,
in other ways.
The local collectivities depend on the central authority for transfer of resources. Every day, the mayors are saying we have not received the 20%, constitutionally allocated for us. Every day.
I think there is too much to be done in terms of education, educating Cameroonians about decentralization, because some of them fear that decentralization is independence. And so when we don't take the time to educate ourselves on the advantages of decentralization and fully get into implementation, we'll be marking time on the same spot. I say so because when you get some of our French language brothers and sisters, they will say that we want to go away when we are talking about decentralization or federalism. Decentralization is simply a euphemism to federalism. And if decentralization is effective, the level of development will speed up.
Thank you so much. And let's talk about the quota system, because we obviously talk about the quota system in our institutions. We're talking about employment, recruitment, and the rest, what has been known over the years as regional balance.
Maybe let me say one or two words. I want to think that those who conceived the quota system, or what they call regional balance, probably had good intentions. But along the line, you realize that regional balance has become something else. There is no region amongst the 10 regions of Cameroon where intelligent people do not exist. All of these regions have people who can perform in one sector or the other. But in theory, we have regional balance, but we see that the practice is something else. So the quota system is not even respected.
So in some cases, regional balance has even been tilted to tribalism, nepotism, and you can name all isms that are evildoers.
Exactly.
I say so because there are a number of services, even in the country, where you go to, it is an ethnic group that is dominating because the hate is coming from there. I take the Economic Council, may he so rest in peace, Mr. Yang Luke. Everybody in the Economic Council, by 80%, were people from the same ethnic group. I take that example.
And the language of communication in the secretariat. Language of communication in the secretariat.
Yes.
You notice in that case that something happened within that structure the Economic and Social Council.
Right.
There were texts that restructured the Economic and Social Council with so many people appointed, with so many other departments and other areas appointed that have beaten what we are talking about.
Of course,
now,
we are talking of recent happening. I'm telling you that it is an institution under somebody that could typify ethnicization.
Thank God we cannot talk about the same institution the same way.
There is progress, Kilian. We are
Exactly.
not saying that progress is not being
Exactly.
made, my dear colleague.
Now that he has gone to the other side, the cracks on the unity, national unity, we can continue, because that is, you just introduce us into the second part of
Yes, Kilian, thank you. I want to say, when Professor Fee came in his intro, he was trying to talk about, I followed him keenly when he talked about transiting from the Federal Republic to the United Republic to the Republic of Cameroon. I think along this line, Cameroon has not been solidified much more stronger than when it was a federal state.
Yeah, that's true.
There are cracks from the Federal Republic to the United Republic to the Republic of Cameroon. There are a lot of cracks. Why? Because today we are talking about decentralization. Joe is saying it's a euphemism for federalism. I do well think so. So if we want to talk about the other way around.
When he says that, he is simply saying that if some people are asking for federalism and decentralization, which is a euphemism for federalism, is proposed, it should just work. Which is not bad.
Unfortunately, the cards are not put on the table.
We need to educate.
The cards are not put on the table because since, is it 1996 till date, why is there no effective decentralization? Kilian, do you know that if there was effective decentralization, all of what we're having in the two English-speaking regions wouldn't have happened? Because Professor did say decentralization enables you manage your things by yourself.
Yes.
And when you manage by yourself, you know the weaknesses, you know the strengths. If you appoint a governor 5 years after he hasn't rendered the goods, you pack him, vote another one. But when somebody is handpicked to be there and he stays, even is overdue, it is not how long you stay at a duty post that matters, but what you do within the period within which you are at that duty post. Is not when you are there 50, 100 years, no. But within 2-3 years, you can perform. So I want to say our unity has, along the line, from the Federal Republic to the United Republic to the Republic of Cameroon, our unity has continually gotten broken down. So much so that...
No, we have cracks, as you say.
Yes.
We can have a gigantic, very solid building, but you still have cracks.
Obviously.
I think that our unity is standing strong. But we are talking about cracks. While we are talking about cracks, is those cracks, we mend the cracks, we will make the structure stronger. We are not going to say that it's falling.
Yes, true. Very true, Kilian. You're very true about it. But you see, what is the mindset when you have to mend the cracks? Do you do it good faith or bad faith? Is the $1 million question.
When
may
you say
I compliment
you, who are we
Kilian?
talking about?
We Cameroonians.
We Cameroonians. Exactly. So we mean that you
I am
holding-
proud of it.
Thank you so much. So you do your job. Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Sifford.
Maybe let me take us a little back to this whole concept of decentralization, to chip in one thing or the other, that it is actually the gradual transfer of resources, competencies, and power from the central administration to the regional administration, and even to the periphery, because it trickles down.
Local
Authorities.
Right down to the
authorities,
councils.
local authorities, and so the governor, even the DO, even the SDO, they are like supervisory authorities. They are not actually the ones in the field to do the work, to realize development projects. Also, the regional councillors, headed by regional council presidents and the local councils, the mayors, General Assembly, they are the ones. They are the ones who actually identify the needs, the social needs, economic needs of the population, and put it in order of priority, and see how they could draw a good plan to ensure their effective realization. But as we have rightly pointed out, they are handicapped by finance, yes. But it is a good concept, even though it is not be mistaken for federalism. It is a good concept because it makes the people to take their own destiny into their own hands and to come up with initiative to be able to.
I will not be fair if I do not appreciate what the regional councils are doing, because they are doing something on the field, whether you like it or not.
They are.
Yes, they are actually doing so much. They have to do more. But if we say they are not doing something, then we actually are not honest.
Yeah.
Because I've received the General Assembly President from the Northwest, Professor Ngwafo you're talking about,
yes.
Mr. Ilango,
yes,
Akoma from the Southwest. I've received them. They've shown me what they are doing.
No, they're doing more.
Yes, you can question that, but they're doing something. We want them to do more.
Yeah.
We're talking about the other regional council presidents from the other 8 regions of Cameroon, apart from Northwest and Southwest. There is something happening. How we help them to go faster? That is the question.
Kilian, for how to help them go faster, I would say that the regional councils should work with the local councils and village development committees. Because if you get to a village and you work with the village development committee or association, they will tell you their problems and their priorities. And you can now assist them, whether it is a bridge to be built, a school, a hospital, and you get down to the grassroots and move from the grassroots without imagining that you will sit in the office and conceive a project for those who are right down there.
The ones I've received here, Southwest, Northwest, have told me, you are from the Northwest,
No, they do
that is their approach.
Yes.
Yeah, it's bottom top.
Very much aware of
Bottom
that.
top.
Exactly.
Yes, it's actually what you are talking about is not in the air. They're actually doing that
being put
already.
into
Let me
practice.
say, Kilian, that they are aware that the populations, the people they're dealing with, people are very conscious.
Yes.
People who are politically mature. You may not have these achievements in the other regions
Yes.
because of the attitude of the people.
The mentality even.
In the Northwest and the Southwest, if you do not, achieve the goals, you will surely be kicked out. That is,
Yeah. It's
very
obvious,
sensitive.
Professor. It's obvious.
The people have a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And that is why the eyes are focused. Who is there and what is he doing for the population?
And in passing, it looks like there's a gentleman's agreement within those circles that one person will not stay in that post for so long.
Yeah.
Yes, so we look forward to seeing that work.
Yeah.
You're talking about cracks. You've not talked about tribalism on the rise. You've not talked about hate speech. You've not elaborated on this.
Nepotism.
No, Kilian, we've not really talked about cracks. If you look at the history of Cameroon, hate speech that you mentioned is a recent,
Development.
development. But when you go far back, you realize that there were several factors responsible for cracks on our national unity. We mentioned the word balanced development, but I will talk of unbalanced development.
Go ahead.
There was a kind of neglect, total neglect for some regions, called the provinces at that time of Cameroon, that people in some regions, went for decades without seeing a tarred road. I know the situation is changing. That some parts of Cameroon, people have never seen a railway. I know you will tell me that railways are not necessary in all parts, but there are regions that would have been industrialized. But you cannot get there with heavy-duty equipment.
Professor,
you can't get there with heavy
are you talking
raw
about pipe bomb water and electricity?
Exactly. So that was a major problem. The next problem that we had...
Before you go to the next, Professor, we have 360 subdivisions in Cameroon.
Exactly.
I have been to about 340. And to tell you the truth, until recently, you are talking about the period of the provinces. Even here in the center, I'm not saying that is right. You needed to go less than 40 kilometers away from the center.
I'm just from Lubodi.
Away from here.
I am just from Lubodi. And
it's horrible.
So it wasn't like it was a particular problem of a particular people. Maybe it was a national neglect, not to victimize one group. If one group came up and
Killian, take note, I did not mention any region or group, but I was just saying that there are areas of
a general picture.
A general picture that were neglected.
Yes.
Yeah,
I understand that many people read me,
yes,
you know, the way you are doing, but I was talking about the general picture, that there are regions, that villages in Cameroon where the people cannot feel like belonging, where national unity is absent because the people, you know, don't have network. They can't. They have never used this telephone.
Thank you, Prof, for making
issues.
that clearer. When you have, in the morning, if you have your neighbors crying, and you go to the junction, and you say that people are crying, those who heard people crying will know that they are your neighbors.
Exactly.
So it's not for nothing that you want to say.
Understood.
Killian, if you permit, we are talking about crisis on national unity, and I wish to highlight the failure of the attempt to assimilate Anglophones in Cameroon. And the head of state acknowledged it in 2019. That attempt to assimilate Anglophone Cameroonians failed. And now that he's honest, whereas some people around him have been clouding him with dishonesty to say that all is moving. One person will sit in his room and write a communique and say that 2,000 people signed motion of support. And you see that since that declaration, motion of support have been dying. They are no longer as regular as they used to be. And so with honesty, we can build a society. Yeah. And when you know that your intention is to do well, you set honesty as a signpost.
Yeah.
And since the attempt to assimilate Anglophones failed, let us get back to the drawing board. And I'm suggesting that the National Commission for Truth and Reconciliation should be established so that each entity will be able to have its own delegation, and they sit on the round table, debate the issues, and chart the way forward for this country. Because so long as people are living in anger, self-deceit, lies telling, we cannot go ahead.
Yes, to be very frank, you are correct, but you also have to know that there is a process of dialogue that has been going on, and it continues to go on. Probably we end where you are talking about, but we have dialogue in the open, we have dialogue in the private in this country.
No, I think, let me just add one thing.
Killian,
dialogue is good, but when you hear people say that a problem does not exist, why do you dialogue? Such persons cannot promote dialogue again.
Are
but
we
you
still
see,
at that level?
and the truth is that
I like
I
the
think-
question.
Yeah, are we still at that level? I think that
Killian,
I think
the
we have
truth-
come past that.
That was the
is that-
primary level. We are
the
now at
truth-
the tertiary.
Killian, the truth is that there is no community without problems.
Yes.
I come from Bui Division, and in Bui Division, I belong to a community that feels marginalized. You will never can say that. Even in your household, there's some children who say that daddy loves the other more than I
Very
do.
true.
So there is no community without problem. You can't say that the Anglophones don't have a problem.
Thank you.
Killian,
Thank
can
you.
I-
You
With
better
that-
say that
yeah.
such problems exist. I will understand.
Thank you.
Yes,
You have helped me to move to the conclusive part of our debate here, the way forward, because that's what you are talking about.
Yeah.
We agree that we have problems. Every household, every community, every country, every continent, even we have international problems. So, given that we acknowledge we have problems as a country, what's the way forward?
Killian, I think the way forward, our topic was mainly centered on the history, on our history. Permit me pose this
And on
rhetorical question.
integration.
Yes, integration. Permit me pose this rhetorical question. When I grew up to be a secondary school student, high school student, university student, I believe the history of this nation is a taboo. The historians are there. They will not task me for saying it. Because our history, until recent, when it was, there was an attempt at harmonization. Our history for the past years is a taboo. This person will recite that this happened this way, this happened, shaded. The way forward. I think Joe did say something very important. It is high time we look at each other, eyeball to eyeball, and we talk it out, and we avoid being at each other's throats Because until we speak the truth and shame the devil, we'll never get out of it. We need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which will see what is your major problem. You bring it up. How do you think we can get out of this problem? You bring forth your proposals, we iron it out, so that when we are talking about unity in Cameroon and integration, it should be palpable. It shouldn't be lip service.
Thank you so much. Beginning with you, after this studio, you go back, you start writing the way you think those problems that you think should be solved.
Instantly, I can bring them out.
Dr. Robert Scott, the way forward.
Yes, to key up from what our brother has said, there's the need for genuine dialogue between different communities, between the various communities in Cameroon that is residing in the same area, because Cameroonians, the constitution makes provisions for Cameroonians to live everywhere, from different backgrounds, to live anywhere they find themselves. There's that need for genuine dialogue to avoid inter-ethnic conflict, inter-ethnic tension, and all of that. We know what happened in Obala 2019 April between the Hausas from the north and the Betis from the center. We know what happened in Sangmalima in 2023, in May 2023, between the Bulus on the one hand and of course the Bamums and the Bamlikis on the other. We equally know what has happened of recent at Kidado.
That is true.
In the northwest, so those are
problems of integration.
Yes, integration. And then there's a need to also apply the laws on hate speech, because derogatory utterances have come up over the years, which we all know. So we should try to apply that law without fear or favor.
You have the microphone now.
And recognize our unity in diversity.
I would say that for the way forward, I already suggested the National Commission for Truth and Reconciliation. And then the lawmakers, the MPs, should be able to acknowledge their contribution to national disorder and restore the national disorder they created in 1984 by saying that this country should be called La République du Cameroun, or the Republic of Cameroon, which was existing before the plebiscite of 1961, before the unitary state of 1972, so that when they acknowledge their error and correct it, even if it means going back to the United Republic of Cameroon, the problems that we have will no longer be there, because 26 years after, the Anglophones have come to say that national unity, national union does not exist, and so national unity does not exist. Whereas the fire was set by the lawmakers who accepted a bad law.
Not Anglophones. There's a group.
A bad law was accepted. Let the bad law be
when you
corrected.
Say Anglophones, you will have problems with some people who come from Northwest, Southwest.
No, I will clearly define to you that an Anglophone is a native of the Northwest or Southwest region.
But not all.
Those who were governed by the British,
the point that we're making
at the end of the Second World War. No, we should not get into digressions.
No, the point we're making is that the crisis.
That's a political definition of
the point we are
the reality is not that. No, if you are a Canadian, and you are a Canadian living in Cameroon and you study, you learn English, will you, the Canadian, be called a Cameroonian?
No. From your definition,
you are a native.
The Anglophones who cannot even speak English, but the Anglophones.
Yes, we are.
Which is true. They are natives of a region, a geographical entity, not a language entity.
That is, I have no problem with that. My problem with your declaration is that you say all the people from that part, which is not correct. There are people from that part who do not agree with the way things are going there. So
let me reshape. A majority of the people from the two regions.
My own solution, the way forward will not be institutions. We have a plethora of institutions in Cameroon. So many institutions doing nothing. I think what we need to do is to put to place genuine democracy, freedoms, respect for one another.
Thank you so much.
Whatever your feelings and your political opinions.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us your time for this program. I hope that you were enlightened in one way or the other. If you missed out on anything on this program today, you have a rebroadcast on Monday at 2:30. Thanks very much for watching.